Why don't you guys welcome Dan? Let's do one more clap. So, yeah, and you're good. You can scoot up if you want. You want to do this thing here at all? That goes. That just has to turn on like that. So we've been talking about the kingdom of God, as you know, if you've been here at all. If you're visiting, we've been talking about God's kingdom all year, and we, Lord willing, plan to continue to talk about God's kingdom. We've shifted from kingdom lifestyles to kingdom ministry. So we're starting with the prophetic. We're really focused right now on hearing God's voice and doing what he says. And Dan's story is so fascinating, even if there's no prophetic journey in it. It's just a fascinating story. But then on top of that, the Lord speaking to him at different points in his journey, we're going to explore that. So if you can go to the next slide, I just want to show you what we're going to do. We're going to just go over Dan's story. Oh, one person's prophetic journey is the name of our message today. And then we're going to go over his story, and then I'm going to go back and sort of re-hit and re-highlight some of the prophetic journey markers. And then we're going to finish with questions and answers. So if you have a question for Dan, his story may generate some questions because it's fascinating. Are you guys ready? Yes, sir. This is going to be super exciting. And don't forget, Dan's not nervous or anything, but he's not on the platform all the time, so you need to encourage him with lots of smiles. You can scowl at me, it's okay. Like, you can scowl at me. Don't scowl at him, okay? You got to give him lots of love. All right. So welcome, Dan.
Thank you.
And you're going to have to hold, you might want to just put that
Thank
right
you.
on your chin, so you can. How you doing today?
Actually, very good, thank you.
Yeah, you feeling good?
Yeah.
You nervous?
Excited. Yeah, a little bit, always.
Excited?
Yes.
All right. So we're just going to walk it through one part at a time, and it's going to be awesome.
Good.
So why don't you just start by just telling us a little bit about like where you grew up and kind of what happened in childhood and what was good and what was, maybe challenging. Most of us have those two things going on.
Well, I was born in North Dakota, and I stayed
North
there
Dakota?
for about a year.
I didn't know that. I have
Yeah.
relatives. That's where my relatives are from. What part of North Dakota?
Bismarck.
Oh, okay. I have my uncle and aunt are from Bismarck.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, and then Grand Forks. We had that's where my grandma's from, and my mom. My mom's from Grand
I
Forks.
see. We got some in common stuff.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, that's right.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Can you turn him up?
And then-
Yeah, there we go. Okay.
Then we moved to Los Angeles. Oh, that's close.
That's okay.
And stayed there
Don't be intimidated. They'll adjust the sound.
Yeah.
You just keep it nice and close.
for quite a few years, and we moved to Santa Maria in 1963, I think is what it was.
So
and
give us
that's a
sort of
long
your
time.
age during that time. So you're in North Dakota till how old were you?
About a year old.
About a year, and then you moved to.
Los Angeles. Stayed there for quite a few years anyway.
And how old were you when you moved to Santa Maria?
I was 10 years old when I moved
Okay,
to Santa Maria.
so you were 9 years in LA,
Yeah,
and then Santa Maria sort of.
just kind of stayed.
So you were a kid. You went to the local schools around here.
Yes, yeah.
Where'd you go to high school?
Rigetti High
Okay.
School, yeah.
All right. And what was it like? What was it like in LA for you? What was good and what was challenging?
I was a young kid. Everything was cool.
Did you ride
looking for
bikes?
rocks and chasing frogs and having fun, I guess.
Yeah,
Sliding
okay.
down hillsides. And
All right. Very good. And then what about Santa Maria? What do you remember sort of growing up? I sort of try to get you a little bit to share before, you started dating your wife and getting married and all that. That want to get pre-adult phase.
What did I do in Santa Maria? I don't know. My parents owned a used car lot, and I spent most of my life there as a young kid, from probably 10 to 16 at least.
Did you do like chores or?
I did chores. Yeah, I had to wash the cars, clean them, do whatever the boss told me to do, and sweeping and things, and change tires. And so it was kind of interesting. I like cars. I'm a very car person. So it was interesting growing up. I don't know. Santa Maria's changed a lot. Of course, the world's changed a lot. So
My first
I've
job
changed a
was,
lot.
I was 11, and my dad was a new car sales manager. So I picked up, I think I told you, I picked up cigarette butts on the
you
lot.
said
That was my very first job.
Yeah.
I was super proud of that.
Yeah.
Then I, at 14, I went to the local country club and tried to caddy, but I was barely tall enough to not have the bags drag on the ground. So I figured out the best thing to do at my age was to, when they would go to their trunks to unload their bags, I would try to carry them into the country club. So I'd get like a quarter or 50 cents, and that was my next job. So yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's fun to have a working background because you learn how to work.
Yeah, I learned how to work. Learned a lot about that. That's the one thing we can say is my stepfather really taught us all to be hard workers, and actually all my brothers and family, we all own our own businesses. So it's kind of paid off in the long run.
Yeah, there's something about learning how to work that a lot of people don't have that experience. They don't know how to do physical work. So, and there a lot of jobs are online and all that stuff, but it just feels so important to learn how to do physical work, even if you don't do it the rest of your life.
Yeah, I'd rather not.
Yeah, but you're a big boss now, so.
Yeah, I'm a boss now, so
Yeah.
I love it.
All right.
Life is good to me.
Okay, so then just give us that next phase. You're in high school, and then what was the next big thing that happened?
Well, I was in high school. It's a long story with my parents. My stepfather was very abusive, and
It's okay to. Do you guys? Is it okay if he feels some emotion while he's telling this story? All right, good. So just be yourself.
Yeah.
Don't just relax.
I'm working on it.
Yeah, you're doing great.
I know at 16, I was in high school and just trying to finish. I had decent grades, but my stepfather was very brutally mean. And
He had a big mean streak.
Yeah, he had a big mean streak, and it was probably something to his childhood. He became an alcoholic, and I was his favorite punching bag. So 4 or 5 nights a week, I would just get my beatings, and I really never knew why.
And when did that? How old were you when do you remember that started? Just when you were a young child?
I can remember mainly from like 11 years old till I was 16, and
so there were 5 years of just ridiculous, nonstop, almost every night.
Yeah.
And it's emotional even now just to sort of recount that.
Yeah, I'm very grateful for forgiveness, and God's taught me a lot about that. But it took some time.
Let me interrupt you for 1 sec. Can you guys hear him okay?
Oh.
Anybody not hear him?
Sorry.
Okay, just want to make sure.
I'll try to talk.
Just because I want them to hear you, that's all. Yeah. Okay, so that was a very obviously painful period. And then, so 16, was that a turning point?
It was a turning point for me. I ended up leaving home, I guess, run away. Went to Newport Beach, which was super fun for me. Learned how to surf and hang out, and more surfing than hanging out, more whatever. I worked.
So you were an avid surfer.
Yeah, I was an avid surfer. I just loved it. I thought somehow that would be my life. I wanted to even be a professional surfer, but I didn't know how you could make a living doing it. But
and what year? So people have a context. What year was that when you were 16? I don't know your age exactly.
Gosh, I don't know. That was a long time ago.
When you get older, you conveniently forget those years. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It was a long time ago. That's all I remember. And coming back from Newport Beach, I got caught for one day walking down the street, and I looked like I should have been in high school. So the police got me, and I got arrested and sent home. And things had changed quite a bit. I did work on my parents' car lot, and that's one day when I was out front, and I saw my wife walking down the street, getting ready to go to school, and I looked up over at her, and that was the first time I ever heard God's voice, and He said, "That's going to be your wife."
Now I want you guys we're going to sort of weave in his story with the prophetic journey, but he's not a believer.
No, I was not a believer.
You guys tracking here?
Yeah.
Some of you may have a theology that God doesn't speak to people that aren't saved, but that's completely not true.
That's right, yeah.
I just want you to hear. So God told him of who his wife was. He's unsaved. Mm-hmm. And he's just living for himself.
Yeah,
or whatever. Just, yeah.
Yeah, surfing and partying, working.
Surfing, partying, and you look at this girl that you feel is attractive, and the Lord speaks to you.
Lord just spoke to me, and I went, "Man, you're right, Lord. I could see myself with her." She had long hair.
It seems obvious to me.
Man, I was like, "Whoa, I'm in love, baby."
You had God on your side.
Yeah,
it's
a
a no-brainer.
God's voice, and I thought, man, that's pretty interesting.
What did it feel like? What did it feel like to hear God's voice? Like what happened? Was it a thought in your head?
Amazing. It just made me really start kind of hungering for more of what God maybe had for me. It's all right.
That's okay.
Just that I don't know how to explain it. I just realized that God was for real. He was trying to get my attention, and He had something better for me than I had ever thought for myself even. So
when you heard that word, it elevated your vision for your life.
Oh yeah, definitely. It was a big turning point. And so I was chasing after my wife for a while, and it didn't take long. About 2 months, I asked her to marry me, and she said no, and I was like, "What? You can't say no to me. I'm Dan."
You're Dan the man.
I'm Dan. I mean, Lord, what's going on? You need to talk to her. But 2 months later, she said, okay. Let's do this.
An unenthusiastic okay, huh?
Yeah, yeah, but she was excited. I think she still is. So,
Where is your wife?
she's right here.
You guys need to give
Beautiful,
Jerry
yeah.
a hand. This is
Oh,
Jerry
yeah.
Still.
She's really. Yeah,
And how long have you been married now?
47 years. Yeah. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
We were married. She was still in high school, and we got married. And then she was pregnant and finishing her high school, and it was just a different time. You know, it wasn't cool to be pregnant, even if you were married in high school when I was young. But now, of course, they have daycare center at Rigetti, so you know things change.
Things have changed a
So,
lot.
yes, it changed the world.
Okay, so now we're coming up on a really important time in your life, right? So kind of walk us through those late teens, early 20s, because that's when things, like what happened, is that when you...
Well, I was 19 when we. Well, no, actually, I just turned 20, so I figured if I'm 20, man, I know everything by now. That's all I needed. So
You're 20
just
years
one
old.
more
You got
candle
it.
on my birthday cake. Now I know everything.
You
So-
got everything figured out.
Yeah, and I didn't, but we were really blessed. Being young, we had our first child. We were able to buy a home right away in Old Orchid, and I don't know, things were looking good. I didn't know what the future was going to bring. I was working as a truck driver.
And you were positive about life.
I was positive about life because I saw a good future. We wanted to have like 20 kids, and but we didn't realize that cost a lot of money.
But you started with one.
We started with one, and we ended up having, at 21, oh, I need a drink of water.
Yeah, can somebody get him some?
Water?
There's a water right behind there.
She's got one right there.
Okay, yeah, we'll do that. Sorry about that. We should
That's
have.
all right, sorry.
Sorry, we didn't
I'm
give
not
you
a
water.
stage person.
You're doing great.
Thanks, Mark.
Yep. Thank you for taking the time to do this.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I don't know about for all of you guys, but for me anyway, turning 21 was this big thing, It really didn't change much in my life because I could buy alcohol a lot of places. But that was like my goal thing. I thought, now I'm going to be legal. I had no idea. So it was something I kind of looked forward to in the weirdest way. But 2 weeks after I turned 21, I went blind. And
So tell them about that. Where were you?
I was driving a truck, and we moved furniture from Santa Maria to Vandenberg Air Force Base. And it was in my normal thing. I was pulling out on Skyway Drive, going towards Vandenberg. And I know it was August, beautiful, 2 weeks after my birthday in August. So it was just a beautiful sunny day. And I'm driving down the road, this big truck, and all of a sudden it just seemed to like getting darker and darker and darker.
And you had a guy, was it an apprentice?
And I had a brand new guy, first day on the job with me, and I started kind of getting upset. I'm like, man, doesn't this guy realize we're like at the end of the world or something here?
So he
And
felt
he's
like
not even
the
reacting.
whole. He didn't think it was his eyes.
Yeah.
He thought the whole world was just closing in, and it was like the apocalypse. Like.
Yeah. And I saw some cars kind of going by, and they just started melting, and it was like this weirdest nightmare. And I was really getting nervous. I finally yelled at him, kind of, dude, it's the end of the world. You don't even seem to flinch or care. I mean, what's going on with you? And he's looking at me like I'm out of my mind, which I was. But I was able to pull the truck over, and back in those days, they had CBs, and we didn't have cell phones, if you can imagine that. So I called the boss. I said, look, I don't know what's going on, but I can't see. You need somebody, send a driver out here, pick me up, something. And I went to the the
Shepherd Eye Clinic.
Shepherd Eye Clinic. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're good, man.
Yeah. Well, we talked about this.
Yeah.
That's so
And
helpful.
within an hour or so, my wife was there and a couple doctors, and they said they didn't really know exactly what it was, but they guaranteed I was blind. And so it just changed my life.
And you could see, at that point, you could see like sort of gray and white and black shadows.
There was no more colors, and I couldn't see my hand at the end of my arm. I couldn't see Mark unless he spoke. I wouldn't know that he was there.
You would see, all you could see was maybe a little bit of a white in the midst of black.
Yeah, it was mostly black and white and gray and just blurry, like the guy that got healed in Jesus. And he said, can you see? Well, men look like bushes. That's what they looked like to me. Believe me, a lot of embarrassing stories, standing next to a bush and I'd think that somebody was there, and so I'd finally brave up and go, "So what's up?" And when they didn't respond, I'd go, "Hey!" And if they didn't respond, I went, "Okay, Lord, whatever." Man. You know? But it was a difficult time. I could tell you a lot of stories about embarrassing moments. How many probably should have worn a hard hat. I mean, bumps my head all the time, but I couldn't drive. I couldn't read a book. I couldn't watch TV.
Let's clarify this. You're 21 years old.
21.
You've been married. You're 2 weeks after your birthday. How long have you been married?
About a year and a half, maybe.
Year and a half. And any kids yet?
No, we had one daughter.
You had one daughter who was how old?
She was just over a year.
Just over a year old, and you lost all your vision. For all practical purposes, I mean, you didn't see pure black, but you couldn't see a thing.
I couldn't see enough to get a job and drive a car or read a book, or we tried the drive-in theater one time and sat in the front row with our car, and I couldn't see. It was just blur. It wasn't funny, and I really thought, well, my surfing career is over. I can't. I went to the beach with a couple friends and suited up, but I could just hear the waves pound, and I knew it was kind of big that day, and it just scared me. I couldn't do it. I didn't know. I thought maybe I'll start paddling out to Hawaii, or I would never know when to turn around. I didn't know, but I picked up on skateboarding, and that was kind of fun.
So you were able to skateboard without being able to
skateboard somehow. I don't know.
How did you do that? How did you skateboard with no vision?
I could just hear this. When you go blind or any other your other senses come so alive. It's just amazing, your touch, your sense of hearing was so much better. It's incredible. But I love to surf and skate, and so I continued doing that.
As best you could.
As best I could, and God spoke to me one day.
You still haven't given your life to Jesus.
I still haven't given my life to Christ, which was interesting. I actually had given my life to Christ when I was about 15 in the Foursquare youth group.
Okay.
But when I turned 16 and left home and all those things, I just left God behind. And even when we were married, we both knew the Lord, but we weren't serving Him. We were just having fun, I guess, trying to live life without Him, and it was difficult.
All right, so you're blind, and then what happened? You said God spoke to you.
Yeah, God spoke to me one day about opening up a surf shop, and I just was like, wow.
While you're blind?
While I'm blind, I go, Lord, I can't see nothing. I started to have conversations with Him, but not much really at that point until I went to Mayo Eye Clinic. But we had the surf shop going.
So He said, open a surf shop. You did that.
And my main thing then too, because we were so young and we were just buying a house, and I didn't want to just blow it all, and I didn't have a lot of money, so I decided to go back to college and get a degree in business. And I was the guy in the back of the class always raising my hand, "Hey, excuse me, what did you say?" And I don't know if you can even do that in college, but I did. So, and I learned a little bit about it, and it wasn't so much that I wanted a degree, although I got a degree in small business, but it was a non-certification because I'd never finished high school. So I thought about going back and finishing high school to get that degree, but really all it was a plaque on my wall. I just wanted the information so that I didn't blow it and waste my, and then looking at divorce court or something. I didn't want those problems. So I believe that God allowed me to go through it. It was kind of interesting for 2 years, and I learned enough to get the certification, and we opened up a surf shop, and it was pretty interesting. I had talking calculators, and I just knew where everything was, and a lot of people almost wouldn't have known that I was blind. But a lot of my friends, people are weird, like me. They like to do this flash thing in front of my eyes, see if I'm really blind, try to slug me or something. And when they realized that I wasn't flinching or whatever.
Like they go like that to see if you would go like that.
Just to see if I would respond.
Because they didn't even fully
"You're not
believe
really blind," which I would love to switch eyeballs with anybody at that point.
Yeah.
And so that went along, and the surf shop was going good.
And then someone suggested that you go to Mayo Eye Clinic. Because you guys had gone, because of your insurance, you'd gone to a ton of eye doctors.
I probably saw 480-something doctors in California from San Francisco to San Diego. And it's really weird, but the lady that I had working with me in Social Security was really trying to help me and just pulled a lot of strings for us and paid for certain things, but we were able, because my wife could drive, to go to a lot of these different doctors. But unfortunately, they just kept telling me the same thing.
And you had a condition that's very rare. Do you remember what it was called?
Very rare. Lever's hereditary optical neurology. Lever's for the man.
Neuropathy?
Neurology or
Or, yeah, one
I
of those.
used to say it differently.
Yeah.
There's
But
a word, it's spelled a lot of
very
spelling.
rare disease where you get an onset of losing your sight. Comes from your mother's side.
Yep.
You can't pass it on as a dad, as a man, but it's almost never recoverable. It's very, very rare cases where people have gotten their sight back. It's almost always irreversible.
Right.
Okay, so you had that. That was diagnosed.
So yeah, it was diagnosed that way. But we had met a couple friends of ours, a lady in Orchid where we lived, would come by once in a while and just say, Dan, God doesn't want you to be blind. I'm like, I'm in agreement. I don't want to be either. And for some reason though, because of that, I always had this hope or a feeling that I wasn't going to be blind all my life. And I used to tell doctors that all the time. Well, you're full of it. Whatever. Sorry, I don't know.
They didn't buy your.
They didn't know. I said, but whatever. I'm not going to be blind all my life, man. Well, how's that going to happen? I don't know. I just don't know. I just felt that, and I think that's God put that in me somehow.
So when you went to Mayo Clinic, that was sort of your ultimatum with God.
That was my ultimatum.
And what did you say?
Well, we were leaving. I was packing up. My friend was there. A friend of mine that lived in Santa Maria for a while, and his parents were in Rochester, Minnesota. He says, Dan, you've been getting the runaround in California with these eye doctors. You should go to Mayo Eye Clinic. They can fix you. Man, that's the largest eye center in the United States. So I thought, okay. So I got set up for the Social Security people set up for a meeting and all that, and I got to go with my friend. Drive didn't cost me much, and but I had before I left, I told my wife, if they can't fix me in Minnesota, I'm just going to receive being blind. I'm tired of the doctors. I'm tired about their reports that there's no hope, there's no cure, there's nothing you can do, no diet, no exercise, nothing. And I just kind of refused to believe that. There's got to be an answer for everything, So it was a little bit tough, but I went in to see the doctor, and it was another 3 more days of electric shock treatment.
And you told me when you talked to me, you said the doctor said to you, basically, if anyone can help you, I can help you. I help people all over the world.
Right.
He wasn't bragging, but he was just saying, I'm the guy.
Yeah.
And in the midst of that, after examining you for 3 days, then what did he say?
Okay, after 3 days, he came into the room, and I had been sitting in a chair. They used to grab my shirt, and I'd follow them along, walking. I never did the cane treatment they were trying to teach me that, but I didn't want that. So anyway, they led me to a room. It was actually about the size of this, although I couldn't have told you that. And they set me in a chair, and when the doctor came in, that's now 6 years of being blind. And I've just, so many experiences. I got a lot better at facing the person that was talking to me, and I could almost tell you exactly how far away he was because of just your senses. So he walked in and he started asking me, and it was like this silly question to me. What do you want from me? And I said, well, what do you think I'm here for? I'm blind. I can't see. I said, I just want you to fix me so that I could read a book. I could get a job. And man, then I'll be like a real man again. I don't like sitting in the dark all the time. It's just no fun. And in the process of those years, we found out that the disease, like Mark had said, was not transferable from me. So we didn't want to have any more kids and bring the kids into the world blind. But when we found out it wasn't worked that way, we had our son. And so now we had 2 kids and things were going.
But you'd never seen your son.
I'd never seen him. I just felt them. And 6 years, a lot of things change and people grow. And so I'm in this doctor's office. Excuse me. And after he asked me I explained to him what I wanted to have him fix my eyes so I could read and those things. He stepped back, and I don't know, about everybody, but for me, I couldn't see him, but there's something about their voice, the way they talk. They're sincere. They're telling the truth. They ain't exaggerating anything. So he told me, Dan, I'm one of the world's specialists. I travel the world. I teach all the doctors the newest techniques and these things in eye surgeries and repairs and what have you. And he said, what you have, it's uncurable. He said, there's not a doctor in his right mind that would even attempt to open your brain up and rewire it. And I just kind of lost it.
Because his optic nerves had detached.
Yeah.
So they were not attached. So that he was saying the only hope was a massive eye surgery, which you can't pull off. So he said, I'm the guy that could do it, and it can't be done.
And it can't be done. So then I pretty well lost hope. All of a sudden, I I just remember feeling around for that chair. I just wanted to sit down. I wanted him to go away. I wanted my life to change. I had put so much hope in man that, you know, he can't do it. We can do a lot of things, but we can't do everything. But he explained to me, he said, well, Dan, there is one physician that can take care of this entire matter. And I never did find my chair, but I've always worn button shirts, and I started unbuttoning my shirt, and I was like telling him, look, man, I said, I own 2 homes in California, man. You can have them. I'll give you the shirt off my back. Why did you hold out the best for last? I mean, I'm ready. I'm on the starting. I'm ready to get healed here, something. And he said, well, Dan, his name is Jesus Christ. Do you know him? And I went, oh, yeah, you know. I said, I given my life to him years ago, but I walked away. I don't have a personal relationship with him right now. And it was interesting because I think really that's what it's all about. You have to have, you know, I can't serve my parents' God. I have to have a relationship with the one I'm my God. So once he said that, he turned around and he walked out of the room. And I thought, wow. So I felt around, I found the chair I was sitting in, and I sat there and just began to weep so much. So this is nothing compared to that day. And I was just like, the carpet was wet and my nose was running out, snot everywhere, and it was gross. But all of a sudden, I said, you know, Lord, I believe what that man said. And if you would come into my life today and heal my eyes, I'll serve you the rest of my life. And again, I didn't know what I was really getting into, but it was a pretty serious moment in my life. And I didn't feel any lightning bolts or the room shake or anything. But as I was sitting there and I opened my eyes, I realized I was looking at my hand and I could see the snot and the tears on the floor. And I started looking around. Yeah, God is good, man. God is good.
So you could see again.
I could see completely again. And it was so
instantly.
amazing.
When you got done crying, or what, you were probably still crying, but you opened your eyes after however many minutes, and you could see. I
could just see everything. And in the offices, all, like I said, 480, way more probably, doctors we saw. I'm a bored person. I feel in the walls. I feel these picture frames. And it was always in my mind, I wonder what those are, like degrees that they went to college, or is it maybe their family photos or a car collection or something? And I would always think, well, someday I'll know. So when I could see that moment, a room like this, and I was sitting way over in the corner, I could see some plaques on the wall, and I ran over to him, and I'm reading him that he graduated at Harvard and Yale or this and that, and all of a sudden the door opens, and the doctor's standing there. And I'd never seen him before, actually. I spoke to him, but I didn't never see him. But I connected the two. I heard his voice. I recognized him. I said, Doc, I just asked Jesus Christ to come into my life, and I'm telling you what, I can see, and you're old. And that's my personality, sorry. And I just started explaining. I put my arm around him. I said, look at all these tables. Look at all these people. Look at these, you know, whatever it was in the room. And he's like, man. He just had this startled look. He sits me in a chair, and he got these little eye tool, and he's looking. Wow. He kept saying, wow. He got on the phone, and he got to, which I now realize that we had almost 20 eyewitnesses to this situation. So all these trainees or whatever, nurses and doctors, they were black, white, oriental, you know, they were in a lineup, man, and they wanted to look in my eyes with that little tool. And some of them wouldn't, hey, it's my turn. Hey, no, I got one more look, you know. And I just thought, wow. And they just kept saying, wow, wow. The doctor's sitting next to me. And I said, hey, and like, we're like having church right now or something. You know, I said, I asked Jesus, he healed me, and now these guys are saying all these wow words. I go, is wow like a God word or something? You know? So, and he just kind of chuckled. He goes, and I said, you know, look what you've done for me. And he said, I haven't done anything, Dan. I didn't even touch you. The Lord did that for you. And so right then, and that was like, wow.
Can I just share what you shared with me really quick? Yeah. What they were saying wow to was they were watching his optical nerves reconnecting.
Yes.
But there wasn't enough connection for him to see yet. So he was seeing before the healing took place. Right. So it was a miracle and a healing.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, it was very,
Come on, come on, come on, come on.
yeah, yeah. There's like, from my understanding, there's about 10,000 wires that go from the eyes to the brain that tell the brain what the eyes see and put everything together. And those fiber optic nerves like what are the phone company with the AT&T with the fiber optics, they ain't got nothing on God's creation. So, and there's these super fine wires, and what happens is they get burned out, like little pieces are missing of the wiring. So 98% of all my optical nerves were burnt out and missing pieces all through my head. And that's why they were saying it's just tucked in there. They can't get to it. They don't know how to do it, whatever. But God does. I'm so grateful. And so, yeah, he made that comment to me. He goes, the thing we keep saying, wow, he goes, it's just we're amazed. Because we have never, ever seen something like that go back together again. As they were looking, they could see the wires connecting and whatever, the fiber optic piece, And so he said, you really shouldn't even be able to see yet, but yet you see, you're like a 20/20 plus, man. And I was like, sweet, bro, sweet. And so then I left the doctor's office, and nobody had to pull me, and I didn't have to hold anybody's shirt sleeve. It was really cool. And I'm walking down these hallways, and there's like a hospital, man, a lot of doors, a lot of hallways. And there's this big black gal standing next to one of the doors, and I went over and laid my hands on her shoulder, and I said, lady, Jesus just came into my life, and I can see everything perfect now. She's like, okay, son, okay. And so I let my hands go, and I walked away, and I said, Lord, I got to tell people about this, man, but you're going to have to teach me how to do it, because I think I just scared her more than anything. So that was kind of my beginning in my walk with the Lord. And I don't know if I want to interrupt at any time, but when I came back to Santa Maria, one of the first things I did was I bought a Bible and began to read, and I got the big, large print, which is really cool because I could hold it up here, and you can read it from back there. As I got older, actually, I do wear glasses now, but that's okay with me because that's normal or natural. But I say, Lord, no, don't let it get any worse, man.
And God still began to speak to you after you gave your heart to Jesus,
yeah,
or recommitted, or whatever, however heaven classifies that.
Yeah. And it's just interesting how God works and how he does speak to you. You don't have to be 20 years in walking with the Lord or having read the Bible 1,000 times or whatever. He's so hungry to have a relationship with us. And one thing over the years, I began to speak to people because I love to pray. And I would just say, I don't know why, but God tells me that he loves your voice. And I used to think, man, that's really interesting. But I found out too that like our fingerprints, no one has the same exact fingerprints. No one actually has the same voice as you either. Now, there's people that come, comedians and things, that can impersonate somebody, but that's just so intimate, I thought. What an interesting God, man. You're like interested in the details. And now you're telling me that you know the count of every hair on my head, and that changes a lot every day, so you're pretty interesting.
Each shower.
Yeah, each shower sometimes. So wait a minute, Lord, I'm growing hair where I never had hair before, and I'm losing hair where I want it to stay. What's up with that?
It goes from your head to your nose and your ears. It's weird.
Yeah. But I figure, God's got a sense of humor, man. He saved me and he saved you, so whatever. He's it's just good. And God began to speak to me, and I began to realize how, I don't know, how intimate he wants. He just wants to be with you. I don't know. One of the things I did when I first came home, too, besides getting my Bible, I went to the DMV. I got my driver's license on the second or third day, and the lady says, read line 4, and I put that thing back and forth. I read every line, and I just really fast, too. And she's like, oh, you don't have to do that. And I said, well, not for you, but for me, I did. You don't understand, but I'm not going to go there. I'm applying for a driver's license, and I don't want you to know that I was blind, because you might. Which is,
You wanted her to be thoroughly convinced that you could see.
It's like I'm a painting contractor now, and the one thing I don't want to really tell people, I was blind for a long time. They're like, oh, never mind, next. So I save that story for after the signed contract. But to come home and to see my wife, she's super fine looking to this day, man. And it just took my heart. And for the first time, I got to see my 5-year-old son. And God is good. He's so good. And I don't know, in my relationship and my walk with the Lord, we hooked up with Foursquare Church, and we were really excited about it. Life was going. I was learning a lot. Every time the door was open, I was there. And so I began to learn a lot about prophecy and teaching and how Christ loves us. And he started to teach me about forgiveness. When I left to go to Washington, to Mayo Eye Clinic, a former employee burglarized our store and put me out of business. So I was really kind of devastated, but the exchange for sight versus a business, I was okay with it. But it made it rough, and started working in the oil fields in about 3 years, and one day I'm talking to God, man, I don't like this. This oil field, I don't want to cuss all the time and shoot it back and spit in everybody, whatever. And God began to speak to me about opening another surf shop. And I was like, wow, really? Huh? And so we did, and it was really good. And for 14 years, my wife and I ran a surf shop, and my dream was fulfilled. I always wanted to be a professional surfer, but I wasn't in the water, but I was a professional surf owner anyway, shop. And we met a lot of guys and girls, and we had a surf team and a skateboard team, and we saw so many people come to the Lord. It was just phenomenal, and I loved it. It's just something about talking to people and just being real. They receive it so much better. If I'm like knocking on everybody's door and trying to sell you on Jesus, it doesn't work the same. I don't know. It was just a great experience. And
what's it like for you to sing "Amazing Grace" when they say, "I once was blind and now I see"?
Yeah.
Is it pretty?
That's my song, man. I just I just fall apart, and I love it so much. And I don't know if anybody's ever noticed, and I'm not looking to look at me, but my wife and I love to worship, and we just really do. We dance around our house and worship and sing, and my wife's got a grand piano, and we love worship. I got so much to be thankful for. It's amazing. I don't know why your feet don't bounce around, but mine sure do. Yeah.
We're coming up to our time, just so we honor the next service. But does anybody have any questions for Dan that you'd like to ask him? Just is just about a story.
I just want to thank you that first of all, I look up to you as a spiritual father. You're a painting contractor as well. And that day that we're in Forget, Robert and I, my business partner, and you bought us breakfast, it just spoke to Robert so much. Because, I tell Robert about the Lord, and just that little bit of testimony just spoke volumes. And he looked up to you because in the old days when you guys worked with Prophetic. And so it just continue to walk in that, because it not only touched him, but it touched me as well, because it reiterated my lifestyle to him, and you showed it that day, and I just appreciated it, so thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
I just want to say thank you for being vulnerable and getting up there and being just real. Really was a blessing to hear what you have experienced. It's real encouraging.
Thank you. It is a little hard sometimes for me to speak about certain things. It's amazing that those certain emotions are still there. But, one of the things that God taught me, too, was about forgiveness. And so I was able to forgive my birth father and my stepfather and a lot of other people. I forgave the guy that put me out of business. And that changed his life, People aren't ready for that. I don't know how to explain that. There's so much more to the story, and I'm so grateful to be here, so grateful to be involved in every day and to be up here speaking with Mark. It's just a great thing. I love to give my testimony. One of the first times reading the Bible through and through, in Revelations 12:11, which is a statement on every one of my business cards or my trucks or whatever, that I was saved by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of my testimony, and it goes on, overcame. And I just screamed. I jumped up. Wow! I was in a laundromat. I was telling everybody, have you read the word? My God, man, he is good. And I thought, man, you know, I don't want to die on a cross for anybody, but talking about you, I can definitely do that. So I'm a salesman, so that's what we talk a lot. You know, and God is just good, man. And he was good to me before I even really gave everything to him. He was wooing me and trying to, you know, draw me. It's good. It's just good. That's all I can tell you.
And he healed you when you weren't, you hadn't given your life to him. I mean, you did at that exact moment, but I mean, you hadn't been, you certainly didn't deserve to be healed. He just healed you because he loved you.
Yeah, and you know, that's just something you have to learn how much God loves you, and you know, that's my cry, you know, almost every day. God, if they only knew how good you are, if they only knew you know, they could be healed, forgiven.
I'm going to we're going to finish. I'm going to ask you if you would like prayer for a physical condition, for healing, or actually if you just like prayer to be able to forgive someone. I'm just going to ask you to stand and have Dan pray for you right now, okay? So just, no drama, just stand up where you are, and I'd just like you to pray over them and just ask the Lord to touch them, whether it's maybe pray, Dan, for healing and for forgiveness, if you could.
Oh, Father, I'm so grateful to be here today. I'm so grateful, God, to have this opportunity to speak. Father, there's so many things in our lives that maybe we need to be forgiven of that we've done. But we need to be able to forgive somebody else that has done us wrong. Father, there's many here today, God, that need that in their life. So I ask you, Jesus, just come in and just comfort them. Be there. The Holy Spirit, you're the comforter. Show them how to forgive, God, and to live through those things. And Father, for any physical ailments out there, God, you're right there. You the great I am, the healer and redeemer. So Father, I just thank you that you would touch lives, God. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to be sick. But God has such a better plan. Such a better plan for you. And he reveals his plan sometimes to me, and it just overwhelms me because he wants nothing but the best for you. And he gives me such good stuff. I can't believe it. I never get tired of asking God for stuff because he's so good to me, you know. And if we could just receive that today, God's goodness, his kindness that we sung about.
Thank you, God.
You know, he's incredible, and he's right here, right now. All you have to do is in your heart just ask him. And that's all I ever did. Was I just trusted him and asked him, and man, it was quick. And not every healing is going to be instant, but you can walk out of here today knowing it's coming, man. Knowing it's coming, knowing it's available. And there's no price, man. I didn't have much money, so I'm glad they didn't put a price tag on that. You know, I would have been still panhandling or something. God is good, and everything he does is good, so whatever's not right in your life, whatever needs to be adjusted, I just tell you, man, if you just press into God, he's got an answer for you. He's got a direction.
Yes, God.
He's like a traffic officer in the middle of an intersection. He'll tell you which way to go, you know, what to do.
Thank you, Father.
I know.
Thank you, God.
Just love him back, and he'll there's so much he's willing to do for you. And I'm so grateful that I'm here today and you're listening. You know, for those who have an ear to hear, listen. That's what the Bible tells us. And not only just hear it, but let it sink into your heart, because it's true stuff.
Amen.
And I'm so grateful that my wife stayed with me all those years. God is good.